So I'm moving on to the development section now of the Clementi Sonatina, Opus 36, number 3. My first part of my instruction was for the exposition, which consists of the first and second theme. Now, the development section in this particular sonatina, like in many, draws upon motifs in the first section, upon the themes in the first section, and motifs, meaning you could take a rhythmic aspect of the theme or a melodic shape of the theme and do different things with it. And most importantly, go into different keys in the development section. So the key changes and the modulations, even though these are not, huge amounts of modulations because it's a small form, are still there. And you need to know what keys you're going into. Now, he cadenced in the dominant at the end of the exposition, which is the G major would be the new tonic for there. And he picks up on that G, making you think that in the development he's going to continue in G, but he doesn't, because the G that presents here really becomes dominant of C. And then C major quickly becomes C minor, and then C minor goes into the descending harmonic form, and then has a dominant that enters the picture and brings us back home officially to recapitulation of the theme in C, but an octave lower. So those are the things you need to know right then and there. And then there's some other things that happen. So now we're going to see that theme 1 is going to be played out with a G major triad, but it's going to go in the opposite direction, then coming down through the broken chord. It's going to go up. And you need to, you can rehearse the ground underneath, which is, basically like in the beginning, that idea of just rotating intervals back and forth, alternating them. So it's good to listen for that. I always do things like block. There's that minor. And this is very important. Always separate your hands. I do. And you do know you're going to rotate. Like I did in the first section. That comes back, that idea. Now we have, again, the upside down, the inversion of the triad. Now it's going to go up, but it's going to be in G. And it's soft, whereas when it started, it was forte. One needs to notice that. So into the development section with... It gets more intense here because it's higher. Slower, but it'll just be a polka over it. And then back to theme 1 and the same direction it started, which is short, short, short. Conversation. And here's where he departs and does something completely different, which is so beautiful. It's very orchestral. You can imagine a string orchestra playing this little transition. It's incredibly beautiful. Probably the most beautiful part of the first movement, where he's going... And it's also an increase in voices, so you get this, the orchestral effect comes from the increased number of voices that he adds. It's never been experienced in the first movement. And I always think of single notes first like this, because that's really the thread of it. A minor. Going to D minor. That goes to dominant G. So you're really going. So now when you do these, if you do know the thread in single notes, he really, gets us back to the dominant, but he does do like the dominant of the dominant right here. And then we're back to this gorgeous second theme, which is now in the home key that we experienced before. Sixth chord. To just go over a part here that I didn't quite get right, but when you go from the 1 chord to the 6th chord on these beautiful passages of 16ths, you really have to dip under them. As an example, when he does this, let's say starting here, dip under on those resolutions.